Hi everyone. Once again I've been asked how I managed to produce sound loops and instruments that don't seem to exist in Magix Music Maker 2017 Premium. In reality they do. You just need to know how to modify the objects that you drop onto the tracks in Magix. To demonstrate this, I'm going to use Hip Hop My Territory, which is a standard sound pool provided with Magix Music Maker Premium 2017, and I'm going to start with the drums. And the drum I'm going to use is D Noise F, and it sounds a little bit like this. Let's just stop that. I'm going to drag that onto any track up here, doesn't matter which one, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit to the timeline. So I'm going to reduce the time selection, click on there, and when you click on this you'll notice that this is 8 beats long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But I don't want these last 4 beats. If we play that, press the space bar, I don't want that snare type sound at the end. So what I'm going to do is hover the mouse over the end of the track above the center line. Don't get the diagonal double arrow, you want the horizontal double arrow. I'm going to click and drag and take 4 bars off it. 1, 2, 3, 4, like so. So now it sounds like this. Let's just play that. Stop that. Now I'm going to repeat that 5 times. So I'm going to click and drag, hold the control key down and click and drag it and copy it to the end. 2, 3, 4. We need a little more screen here, so if we just zoom out a little bit using the enlarge time selection, hold the control key down, click and drag, and now we've got 5. If you click away from that, it will unhighlight it. And if we play that from the start, we get a repeat of that first 4 beats instead of the whole 8. So you get the idea of that. What I want to do now is to put some strings in there. And what I'm going to use is staccato strings here, and I'm going to use pitch 4, so select pitch 4, and if you notice that plays 8 beats too. Let's just put one of those on here for the moment, doesn't matter where, let's just put it down there. If you notice, because we've zoomed out, this is only showing 4 sections, but if we zoom back in again, you'll notice that this is also 8 beats long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I don't want the last 4 beats of this violin either. I just want the 4 at the front. So again, I'm going to hover over the right hand side of the end of that object. I'm going to click and drag and take 4 beats off it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like so. I'm going to click away from there and highlight it. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so we've got the rest of the drums on there. And I'm going to copy that, hold the control key down, click and drag, copy it. 1, 2, 3. So we now have a sound that sounds something like this. Stop that. Now I don't want this to play on the same start as the drums. I want it to play 2 beats before, because I want these 2 notes to start just before the main beat begins. So what I'm going to do is click and drag and highlight those strings, like so. I'm going to zoom in slightly so I can see more of the screen. And what I want to do is to put these 2 beats before the start of this second drum. So I'm going to click and drag without holding the control key down to 2 beats before the start of the next beat. Let me just zoom out a little bit and let me play that. And we'll stop that. Now you can tell that this now starts, this first note on the strings here starts approximately where I wanted it, on the start of that drum beat on the second bar. What I want to do now is put a bit of bass in. So click on the bass, and all I'm going to use is acoustic bass. And because we've got the strings in pitch 4, we can click away from there so you can see a little bit more. We've got the strings in pitch 4. I'm going to use the acoustic bass in pitch 4 at the same time. And if we click that, just stop that. That is also 8 beats long. So I'm going to click and drag one of those just above the drums. It doesn't matter where you put it. You can put it there, or you can put it there. You can put it anywhere you like, but I'm just going to put that above the drums. And what I'm going to do is to demonstrate how to play a track on its own. What I want here is, I don't want the first 4 beats of this bass, I just want the last 4 beats. So if we play this in solo mode, on the right hand side of the track you've got a solo button, and if you click that, that will grey out the other instrument and play this instrument only. So if we press the space bar and play that, okay, we'll stop that. We can turn the solo back off. And what I want is just this last 4 beats. This time I'm going to go to the left hand side of this instrument and pick up the double horizontal arrow. I'm going to click and drag and take out 4 beats. If you notice now, that's just magnetically locked onto the first beat, the second beat, third beat and the 4th beat. Although they're not displayed on the screen, that's because the screen is actually zoomed out. If we actually zoom in a little bit, reduce time selection, you can now see that this is still 4 beats, 1, 2, 3, 4. And I want this to play on the start of that drum. So I'm going to click and drag that to the start of the drum, like so. I'm going to zoom out a little bit so I can see all of it. Hold the control key down, left click and drag and copy that, left click and drag and copy that, and just for good measure I'm going to copy it again to the end, like so. So we'll play that from the start and it sounds like this. And we'll stop that. Just scroll the timeline bar back to the start. Now what I want to do is, on the strings at the end, this last string instrument, I want to split this into 3, but you can't actually split an object. What I want is, let's just click away so you can see what I'm doing. I want the first note here using the original note, I want the second note to be a different pitch, and I want the third note to be another different pitch. And the way to do that is to highlight an object. If you hold the control key down and click and drag and copy that somewhere else into another track, doesn't matter where, anywhere you like, just put it into another track, and I'm going to copy it again and put it into another track. These are just temporary storage areas for me to work on these two in the future. What I want to do now is to cut off these two notes at the end. I want to take out the middle one and the last one. So what I'm going to do is highlight that object, and then I'm going to use the magnify objects button to display just that object. Now here, all it's done is actually magnified the timeline, nothing else. This is the object I'm working on. This is the previous one, and this is the one I'm working on. Just knock that back onto there. And all I want is this first note. So while I'm magnified, I'm going to click on the end above the center. Again, if you go to the center, be careful, because that is the fade control. All I want is the cut control, or the, I'm not sure what they call it, but I want the double horizontal arrow. Click and drag that until it removes those last two notes. Right, so you can take it to a bar if you want, but you don't want any of this other note turning up. It doesn't matter if you put it too short, but don't make it so that you can see any of the bar. And then I'm going to zoom out of that. And then I'm going to use this as the second note. You can put it anywhere you like while you're playing with it. And I'm going to magnify that object. And this time I just want this second note here. So what I'm going to do is click and drag the front note away from it to remove it, like so. And I'm going to click and drag the right hand side and remove the end note off it, like so. It's better if you don't allow it to click onto a bar, and I'll explain this in a while. And then we'll zoom out of that. And what I want to do now is to put this onto the next beat. Now this gets intriguing, because if you click and drag and try to move that, it won't lock onto anything. See, it just overlaps. And that's simply because these first two notes were actually originally, this one here, are half bars. It's not a full bar. There's only a full bar between the two, and it won't snap to half a bar. Full bar, not half a bar. And the way to get around that is to highlight that object, click on the magnify objects button again, and if we just scroll slightly across using this slider, we can drag this object across, and we can scroll again until we see this previous note. Now what we need is this to play on this beat here. So if we click and drag that onto that note about there, don't worry about the overlap, that's fine. As long as this doesn't touch that, we're fine. We'll zoom out again. And now what we'll do, let's just play this from there and see what that sounds like. At the moment it should sound pretty much the same as all of the other notes that we've played before. Okay, we'll stop that. And the third note I want is the last one on this instrument. So what I'm going to do now is, this is easier by the way if you drop it onto a magnetic bar where it will actually lock, because it's easier to work with. But what I'm going to do now is to zoom into that object, and I'm going to take out the first two notes because I don't want those anymore, to, let's say, there. It doesn't matter about the end because we can leave the end on, because this is going to be the last note we play. Zoom back out, and I'm going to drop this then onto a bar that will lock to, i.e. there. So if we just click up here, we'll just play this last little bit, which won't sound any different to this at the moment. Let's just play that and stop that. Now what I want to do, I want to leave that as the original note. I want to change this to another pitch. And you can change it to any pitch you like, but for now I'm going to right click and change the pitch of that note only. And down here you can, if these aren't allowed, if these don't present themselves, you can go down here and click on tempo and pitch, cross here and do select set pitch and set it to pitch 2. Okay. And the last note, I'm going to right click on that one and I'm going to go to tempo and pitch. Down here I'm going to set that to pitch 7. And we'll play that from there. Let's just play that. Okay, so we now have the original note, a different note, a different note. Let's play it again. Right, so now because I've changed the pitch of this last note, the bass is at the wrong pitch as well. So what I'm going to do is to select that item, right click and select tempo and pitch on that one, and I'm going to say set pitch and set that to pitch 7 so that it matches pitch 7 of the last beat there. Let's just play that. Okay. What I'm going to do now is use this last one here, this last bass note, and I'm going to edit that because I just want a little beat at the front, but I don't want pitch 4. As you can see here it says pitch 4. I need this at pitch 7, so the first thing I'm going to do is change that to pitch 7. If pitch 7 is available, just select it there, set pitch 7. But what I want is just this first dump at the front. So what I'm going to do is just magnify that object, and I'm going to take off everything except this first beat here. And you can do that by, again, clicking and dragging until it locks onto it. You can wait until it locks onto a beat there, which will do fine, and unzoom that. And I'm going to copy that to the next bar as well. So I'm going to hold the control key down, left click and drag, and I'm going to put it there. So let's just play that so far. Let's play this from the start. It's not very long, so let's play from the start. Stop that. You'll find that Magix tends to zoom across the screen a bit, so you need to click and drag the slider and bring it back. What I'm going to do is just put this one a little bit closer so it makes a sound a little bit sooner. Let's just zoom in a little bit and then we'll scroll across again so we can see the screen. I'm going to put this about halfway across that bar there. It will lock onto that one, but I don't want it there. I just want a little bit there. That'll do. And let's just play it from here. Oh no, sorry, let's just play it from there. And we'll stop that. Now, other people have asked me how I managed to change the instruments, and this might get a little bit involved, or might seem a little bit involved, but it's not as complicated as you might think. If you highlight any of these instruments in the strings, and if you right click your mouse button, there's an option down here to go into the instrument editor. Now bear with me here because this might sound a little bit complicated, but it's not as complicated as it sounds. Click on the instrument editor and it'll bring up the engine, this thing here, the Vita or Vita, I tend to call it the Vita. This is the engine that produces that sound of that instrument. And up here is show you exactly what is being used to produce that sound. And if you drop down this drop down box here, it shows you here that it's using orchestral strings and it's using viola ensemble and reverb. Now you can actually make this play any other instrument that you want that is available on the Vita synthesizer. As an example, we could change this from being strings, we could change it to woodwinds, and we could tell it to play, let's for instance say, let's play flute and reverb. Now if you tap the space button now, it'll play like this. I'll tell you what we'll do, let's just scroll back to the start and play it from the start. Let's just play it from there. We'll stop that. So you now get an idea of how I actually produce instruments that don't seemingly appear in Magix, but they are there. You can even change this to any other things that you want. Blimey. Let's use guitar, guitar long and chorus one. Let's try playing that. Press the space bar. And we'll stop that. Let's just go back to the woodwind and put that flute back on it. Let's put the flute back on. Now this gets a little bit deep, but here we have what they call an envelope. The ADSR is attack, decay, sustain, release. And what you can do here is change the way that this sounds. If we play it again, let's just stop that. If you change the release, what this does is extends the amount of time the instrument plays before it fades out. So let's take the release up to say about halfway, and now let's play it from there. You get the idea? And you can reduce it down just so that it's not so long. Play it again. Stop that. You can also change the attack. The attack will actually determine how slow the instrument starts. So if you increase the attack, it will have a very faded start to it. Let's just play that. Stop that. The more you increase the attack, the slower the attack becomes. Play it again. Stop that. So hopefully you've now got an idea of how I managed to produce instruments that aren't available, or seemingly aren't available, in Magix. Let's just take this back to the original instruments that were there. Tell you what, let's just play all the strings. Let's play all the strings. Let's play that. Stop that. Again, you can change the release to make it linger a little bit at the end. Play it again. Stop that. There are so many things you can actually change in the Vita synthesizer, but I really don't want to go into all of these because these can be really strange. Let's just change the transpose to see what happens, but this is going to make it sound awful. And stop that. You can change the pitch, virtually anything that you want to play about with. Enjoy playing about with these if you want to. Let's just set that back to exactly what we had in the first place. orchestral strings, and it was the viola ensemble and reverb. And we'll close the engine and we'll play that. Let's just zoom to the entire project and let's just play that. Okay, so hopefully that's explained a little bit about how I managed to produce instruments that you don't think exist in Magix Music Maker 2017 Premium. I hope that's been of help to you.